What's going on, everybody? My name is Aiden and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, about a week ago, the NBA posted something about the Chicago Bulls. Now, over the course of many days now, they've been doing the 30 teams in 30 days type of situation where they discuss each and every single team depending on the day, and the Bulls one happened about a week ago. So with that being said, we're going to discuss what the NBA thinks about the Chicago Bulls, or at least what this individual named Sean Powell spoke about in relation to the Chicago Bulls, and just ultimately whether or not I agree with where we stand in his eyes at this point in time. But before we get any further, if you liked the video and you want to see more from me, drop a like, drop a follow, and or subscribe if you are new, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about these Chicago Bulls and whether or not you believe, I guess, what is being said about this Bulls team at the moment. And ultimately, do you agree with his assessment? Do you agree with maybe my assessment if it's a little bit different to his, and stuff of that nature? So basically, he kind of mentioned first and foremost our off-season signings, which we've already went through. We don't need to go through it. If you're a Bulls fan, if you've been watching these videos for the past couple of months, if you've been listening and to all the reports and everything in between, we have done quite a number of things, but ultimately it's all there for you. So I don't really want to go too much in detail and waste the time that we have on this video discussing who we brought in and who we let go. That is already all public knowledge. But basically what's next is they turn to where we were last season. And last season, the Chicago Bulls were a play-in tournament team, eliminated, I believe it was against Miami, if I'm not mistaken. 2 years in a row, we were eliminated by the Miami Heat in the play-in tournament. I'm pretty sure. We destroyed Atlanta. Yeah, maybe. Anyway, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Either way, we got eliminated in the play-in tournament in the second round. And yeah, ultimately, it's not a fun feeling, but that's where we were. And they also talked about guys like DeMar DeRozan and Alex Caruso, who are no longer here for the Chicago Bulls, having extremely solid seasons. And ultimately, they talked about the breakout season for Kobe White, which is all natural facts. There's not really too much to go into here either. Yes, DeMar DeRozan had a solid season. Alex Caruso arguably had the best season of his career. Kobe White did turn into that breakout star. And look, we had a lot of injuries last season, a lot more than I could possibly even imagine. And with that being said, to be able to kind of get into that position where you were the 9th seed or the 10th seed in the Eastern Conference, you were around that range and you were doing solid stuff. And you know, with all those injuries, it wasn't a bad place to finish, I would say, but it's still not where we want to be. And with all those things happening, the breakout season for Kobe White, which is fantastic, Alex Caruso's best season, DeMar DeRozan having a solid season, ultimately two of those guys are no longer here, which is kind of what they talked about in the next section, and that is the summer summary for the Chicago Bulls. That basically, they kind of said the Bulls traded their best assets with the, the goal to go a little bit younger. It was a straight up swap for Giddey. They mentioned that, you know, we didn't really get picks or anything like that, but again, going for the younger core. Obviously, Josh Giddey, very talented guy, and someone that can play multiple positions. That was kind of the first thing. In relation to DeMar DeRozan, they talked about how clutch he was. They also mentioned his age, at the age of 35, and that the Kings kind of needed that deal, and the Bulls didn't really get much in return for DeMar DeRozan. I don't believe there was a first-round pick involved for either of the deals. We did get Chris Duarte in that deal with DeMar DeRozan, so again, if he turns out to be a solid piece for the Bulls, that would be considered something, of course. But ultimately, I guess they're kind of saying we didn't necessarily get much in return for the guys that we had. Now, this is where things get interesting. Because ultimately, the question here is, could the Bulls have done any more? Maybe in this situation, the answer is no. And the reason why, and I've said this publicly before, is because they've done these deals too late. Yeah, we probably couldn't get more for Alex Caruso. We probably couldn't get more for DeMar DeRozan. Maybe we could have. I'm not the NBA. I'm not the Bulls. I don't have all the trades presented in front of me for me to go and pick which one I'd want to do. But ultimately, we did do this too late. DeMar DeRozan had tremendous value going into this last season. At the very beginning, we could have traded him right then and then if we wanted massive assets in return for DeMar DeRozan, or even a season ago before that. Alex Caruso, there was times and rumored that teams were willing to offer 2 first-round picks for Alex Caruso. Instead, we get Josh Giddey, who hopefully can turn into an asset that we can either build long term with, or maybe it's an asset that we do deal with later and we can get possible returns in that way. So maybe in that case we don't lose. But I'd make the argument and say if the Bulls did these trades earlier, we would have got more in return. Since we did them so late and the Bulls made their decision so late as well, we didn't end up getting anything, I guess, noteworthy other than maybe Josh Giddey. And hopefully there are other guys like Chris Duarte and all the guys that we have signed and all the free agency moves that we have done. Hopefully they can show what their worth is to the NBA and to the Bulls. But of course, I think, again, I've said it in the past as well, we've gotten significantly worse as a team. And that free agency that we had, it picked our direction. I think many of us are happy with the direction that we're picked, but ultimately we will not be a great team coming into this upcoming NBA season, and those guys will probably be part of that in one way or another. Then we turn to what is the spotlight on. No surprise here, the spotlight is on Zach LaVine. Basically, they suggested that Zach LaVine, with his injury record, only played 25 games for the Bulls last season. Is the elephant in the room in this case. They spoke, I guess, highly about how he's able to score and how he can be an effective, I guess, player when it comes to the offensive end, but is also someone that not many teams are interested in at the moment because of that injury record. Maybe there's a slight decline there with Zach LaVine as well that we'll have to wait and see if that turns into a big deal or not. And at the end of the day, he is an asset that is overpriced. I don't think they necessarily mentioned that. They said that he has a clunky contract. But yeah, ultimately, a player that not many teams are willing to go near at this point in time. And it's kind of, they call him a declining asset. So, look, hurtful words. Is Zach LaVine a declining asset? I think this season's going to tell a lot for Zach LaVine. I'm not going to go on judgment based on last season because I think his heart wasn't in it last season. And I think he got hurt. And ultimately, that's been the story of Zach LaVine's career. I want to see what Zach LaVine does this season. He may be a declining asset for most. For me personally, look, it's if he wasn't a declining asset, there would have been a team interested in him. But I don't believe a declining asset continues to decline if he has a point to prove. There have been many players in their career that have revived their career or have shown exactly what they're capable of when there's a point in there to prove, when there's something in it for them. And maybe this is the story for Zach LaVine. There's something in it for him this season. He has a point to prove. I don't think anyone will feel happy in Zach LaVine's situation knowing that he wants to trade out of Chicago, yet there is no team that's coming near him. Do you think that's going to make a player happy and satisfied? That's going to burn someone alive, especially in the competitive environment that Zach LaVine is in. So I want to see what he does this season before I go into the nutshell of no team wants him. Maybe right now no team wants him, but that doesn't necessarily mean that any team won't want him in the near future. So we'll wait and see what happens with Zach LaVine. And then they basically said, where are the Chicago Bulls going to go? Effectively, they said that this team is going for a younger core, which is correct. I think that is the right decision, and I think clearly that's what the Bulls want to do. But they also called us a mid-level team that can be competitive on some nights, not competitive in a playoff environment. And they basically said, at best, we will be a play-in tournament team. And I guess the question to ask there is that where we want to be as a Bulls team? Look, ideally, in an ideal world, the Bulls should be competing for championships. I think we have a high enough fan base. I think we have a high enough, I guess, recognition level. We have a high enough brand. This Bulls team, it would be a lot beneficial for the NBA and for everybody if the Bulls is in the playoff picture each and every single season. For whatever reason, you can blame whoever you want. I'm not going into that this season. We have not hit the mark for years. Pretty much since the D-Rose era, we've not been close. And even before then, we've been mediocre for a long time, since the MJ days. There's not many teams that have really dragged us out of the mud. And this team probably won't be one of them this season. But we're not in an ideal world. And ultimately, the ideal situation for the Bulls right now is that they do go younger. Is that they do try to, I guess, break down what was there and try to rebuild it. And try to rebuild it better than it was before. That's what the Bulls should be doing. So I don't want to be in the playing tournament. I'm going to say it straight up. I'd rather we go into the 6th seed, or I'd rather we just tank completely and go all out to try and get the highest pick possible. I do not want to be in that playing tournament. We've been there 2 seasons. I don't want to be there a third. So that's where they assess the Bulls. Do you agree with that assessment? Let me know, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned for more. Take care, and peace.